live from the dance capital of the world, New York City. The Adventures of My Ballerina and Me show! My ballerina and me, we two are as close as can be. Whether I'm trying to climb up a tree or sitting down with you for tea, we're dancing, we're dancing. Sometimes we go for a long stroll ride, or in the playground I can go down the slide. It doesn't really matter the things that we do. All that matters is just me and you. We're dancing, we're dancing. My ballerina and me, we two are as close as can be. Thanks for stopping over to come and see my ballerina, my ballerina, my ballerina and me.
Let's meet world champion rhythmic gymnast Jessica Howard. She won 3 consecutive U.S. rhythmic all-around titles, 12 individual event national titles as a senior, including a sweep of all 4 apparatus in 2000. On the international stage, Howard won the ball title and finished second in the all-around ribbon competition at the Pan American Games. She also was a member of the U.S. team for the 1999 World Rhythmic Gymnastics Championships. At World Games, she recorded the top 8 finishes on the all 4 events. At Pacific Alliance Championships, she helped Team USA to the gold and took individual medals in the all-around. She served on the USA Gymnastics Board of Directors as an athlete representative for 6 years. Howard performed on Broadway and toured, as well as worked on talk radio producer for WABC before founding Ballet Extensions, which helps high-level students achieve flexibility and strength to meet the physical demands of dance.
Welcome back to the Adventures of My Ballerina and Me. I am privileged today to be here with Jessica Howard, a world champion in rhythmic gymnastics. You look up on YouTube and we can find some of your remarkable routines and all of your achievements. I came to know you because I was looking for, in the ballet industry now, is getting very flexible. It's going in a direction that, in my years training, we didn't go as far with the flexibility, but now it's becoming almost the standard.
Yeah.
And so we sought after a teacher for rhythmic gymnastics, and some of the places I visited scared me.
Yes.
when I tried to take my daughter, and I was quite scared. And my student, who started with me when she was maybe 3, Anna Greenberg, who's at ABT now, I texted her and I said, would you know of a teacher? And she said, you will love Miss Jessica. She's the absolute best. She wants the best quality, but she's so kind. And so that's how we got to know you and your story. And for the purpose of this show, like for students, athletes, dancers to stay safe and to train at a high level, what advice do you have for us as parents to look out for?
Well, considering in New York City, the majority of my students have been dancers and ballerinas, I think just physically, it is vitally important that they learn to train their bodies to be flexible to the amount they need them to be, so that they are not throwing their bodies into the positions that are just required of them in certain situations, whether it be an audition, whether it be a guest choreographer, whether it be, a guest teacher in a class.
Yes.
Because I can almost guarantee you that anybody that comes in and asks them to do these positions has never done them themselves, and also expects everybody to be at a certain level of flexibility. And certain kids are naturally flexible, and that's wonderful. Certain kids are naturally flexible and have the ability to hold and, but that is not the case.
Will you get in trouble
athletes
if you speak up or raise your hand and say, I'm not sure if I can do that?
You are generally taught throughout your entire ballet training, much as I was taught through my entire gymnastics training, just that the parallels are so similar that you never, it's not even an option to say
Speak up.
something like that. And you wouldn't want to, you wouldn't say, and at the very least you're gonna try.
Because there's 200 girls behind you that will try.
Absolutely.
Without saying anything.
And the attitude you're gonna get back, most likely, from whoever is telling you to do something is, fine, don't. And then everybody's going to look at you a certain way, and if you don't do it, you're going to be embarrassed, you're going to make a bad name for yourself, and somebody from your school most likely will call you in and talk to you about your attitude.
Right.
So, the entire thing is a cycle that messes with you mentally if you speak up. And then you don't know what to do, and most likely the kid doesn't even know they're not flexible enough to do it anyway. Or strong enough. It's not just flexibility. It's not just being able to get into a contortionist position, which is what other stretch, coaches and certain things in rhythmic gymnastics have turned into, is contortion. And
so there's physical limits, and it could cross the line of abuse where it's
absolutely,
if you're being asked to do something that's beyond your physical limitations.
Absolutely.
A private lesson, many times, or even group lessons, the parents are shut out and not allowed to watch. It's very against the culture to allow parents in.
That really concerns me because in my experience, and again, as I was mentioning to you, the reason I feel confident in what I'm saying and what I'm talking about is because I have lived through every phase of codependent, abusive relationships. I needed her. She was, for all intents and purposes, a great coach.
Yes.
But she was also just emotionally abusive to the extent that I didn't even know how to act. Within a few years of being with her, it was.
Do these coaches play mind games?
Yes, gaslighting, mind games. She was particularly adept at finding what hurt me, really deeply, and just using it to turn the knife and making me feel absolutely below dirt, but making me practice and perform anyway. And I had a couple of tendencies that were just exacerbated by the way she treated me, and it was nonstop. It was horrible. So the emotional abuse and then the physical abuse of working out on injuries, and then other kinds of abuse that, what happened because of the way I was treated in the gym, and that were supported by the institution.
Yes.
And then I start working with dancers, and I see their just innocence and drive, and things happen around the same age,
Yes.
for them. And then you start seeing similarities at the schools I worked at between the way their minds are being kind of messed with, and even the eating disorders they're developing, and the competition they're developing, and the cattiness, and the it's a huge issue.
Now, some people think, I have parents of very, very talented students feel like when they go into these big institutions, the big boys in the ballet world, and even at a very young age, she was dealing with teachers making crack about weight in front of a classroom, physically hitting the child, and the mother thought if she can't survive there, she doesn't belong in professional ballet.
But that's how they get you.
Right.
They get the parents.
Right.
That my coach got my parents the first day I trained by telling them I can make her like Jessica Davis, who was the Olympian the year that
the highest
before me, which was the Olympian from the United States. And to me, that's all I want. I wanted to go to the Olympics. I saw that Olympic Games. It was in Atlanta, and I fell in love with. There was one routine I saw, and to me, it transcended everything.
I think that's what you sent us. That was what inspired
me.
you.
It was art, and I wanted to become that. A piece of art that way, and I knew I needed to basically transform my life and dedicate my soul
Pour everything
and
into it.
Work like a maniac to make it there. And I did that, but she told my parents that could happen, and everybody just kind of went with it because they assume that this is what's necessary. And then when you've got the child that says, no, I don't want to quit, I don't want to quit, I don't want to quit, while she's crying in the corner because she feels like the body dysmorphia starts setting in so early when teachers are telling you need to lose weight when you're so young, or they're physically doing something to you that's not okay.
Yes.
It is just a culture, and this culture is so ingrained. And we need to absolutely, yesterday, start teaching kids from a young enough age, to be confident, even if they have to live within a system that is not going to change overnight.
So how do you speak up if you're told not to complain or just to be quiet and just
Well, it is part of the art or the sport. Normally to be taught to be silent, listen to your coach, listen to your teacher, not complain ever, and that is part of the structure.
Just doing it.
To just do it and to learn respect and to learn hard work and to learn how to get through things that might be difficult. So that is a plus when it comes to being a part of these institutions and to working hard and doing things. But unfortunately, sometimes, even though there are so many incredible coaches and incredible teachers and instructors, one would hope, that are out there, somebody who maybe has a different kind of style and might not realize that they're being, that they're saying harmful things that might hurt you mentally, or asking you to do things that might hurt yourself physically. They might be saying emotionally abusive things or physically abusive things that make you, either very upset or make you cry and make you just chips away at your love for what you're doing. And in my opinion, as a former elite level gymnast who's in the Hall of Fame and won tons of medals and was a three-time national champion and international medalist, I believe that love, even if it's tough love in practice, should always foster your abilities and love for what you're doing so that you reach your full potential wherever it is. And my first recommendation for preventing or setting up your support system so that you know what to do when something comes up, because something will. Whether you're your age or whether it happens in a few years or you're in a bigger school with more competition, or one of the kids is bullying you, or one of your coaches decides it's a great time to bring out a stick and start smacking your butt with it because you won't keep it tucked under. Whatever the case may be, you need to have an open line of communication with your parent. And you don't have to wait until something crazy is happening in your life to try to start explaining things. You don't have to wait to have that communication until something happens, because then by that time you might not be able to articulate it. You might not be able to open up to that person because it doesn't happen overnight. So my first recommendation would be to open up a channel of communication with somebody that you trust. These students need to know how to be strong and confident and protected. They need to know what is okay and what is not okay.
Is there a Bill of Rights that we should have for athletes for training? Is there something official that says where it crosses the line?
There is nothing. In a very high-profile lawsuit and case, that the institutions would fight that.
A Bill of Rights.
Yes, absolutely. Because giving students any kind of agency takes away their power. And they would not allow that, or they would listen to an idea for that and just brush it off. But there are certain things that can be circulated among parents who, again, in my sport, started this, parents are allowed nowhere near the gym.
Right.
Just
or the
like
studio.
in ballet
Or the studio.
And the reason I've so enjoyed meeting you and talking to you is because you are in the industry. You teach, you know what you're seeing, you see the warning signs, and you know what you're talking about. And you're Camilla's mom, and Camilla is extremely talented, but she has many things that she has to work on, even at this age.
Yeah.
In order to prevent certain, just the natural things you have to prevent in becoming a strong dancer.
Yes.
And then also other mental things that she has to prevent and learn, so that she is a strong-minded.
Yes.
And you have to be making them with somebody who is at least aware.
Yes.
That is on your side. You cannot trust
Yes.
the institution to tell you what is going to be your next life decision. That even if they like you, even if it's a good school, even if everything has worked out great for you.
The thing is, this is complicated because ballet, gymnastics, these things are very obedient, and within the culture there is a discipline, and it does remind me of the military, because you're expected to be in uniform, have your hair a certain way, behave a certain way, whatever it may be, and if it's chipped away at too much, we run the risk of letting go of those traditions. But then people take it so far where it's such a power play with young people whose parents have given you their full trust, and they basically handed their child over to you.
Yeah.
I remember my teacher came in one day with a horsewhip, and he's whipping it on the floor, and my mom went ballistic, and but it was to a certain extent there were some of us, you just sort of, okay, that's what he's doing today. You don't, as a kid, I was a little surprised, but I sort of was like, okay, I guess I better listen.
Right.
I didn't feel like I could raise my hand and say,
absolutely
that's not all right.
It is an absolute culture of silence, and if a word is said, it comes back to you.
Right.
And you're the one, even students who do everything right and listen to everything, if there's a whiff of whatever different coaches or people want to call it,
Yes.
attitude or unwillingness to conform
Yes.
to their methods,
Absolutely.
or they will latch onto that and they will make life difficult for you, or they will try to help you with
Yes.
with their conversations and knowledge. And I've taught at high profile schools that I've seen it happening, and I have seen the mental damage it is doing to the kid, because I've worked with them privately, and we have never had an explicit conversation about it.
Yeah.
But in other ways, you know, we're talking about things, and I can see the confusion, and I can see
Yes.
the sadness and the emotional distress these kids are under, and I know right where it's coming from. It's not a mystery.
I mean, maybe I shouldn't bring this up, but to me, it's part of the same problem. A lot of scandal in churches where children are trying to grow up in the church and do something wonderful and good, and adults abuse that in a sense, in so many ways, and then guilt them into staying silent for good or until they're an adult, and then come to realize what that was.
Child USA is one of the organizations that I've been there. They wanted some victims from my own situation, and I have been there, and they deal with the Catholic Church, and actually just February 14th, New York Governor Cuomo signed a bill that opens a window for many of those children who are now adults to be able to pursue some sort of justice. It's the first state that has done that before these reports have come out. It's a huge victory.
Yeah.
And, but as you look from institution to institution, they're all doing the same thing.
And I have to say something before I forget.
Yeah.
You were one of the first people to come and speak out when all these athletes talked about, you know, this Dr. Nasser and this whole thing that went on. You were one of the first people to be brave enough to come and speak.
You know,
And I gotta tell you, I'm so like impressed with your like you're okay to stand alone, which is a lot of us fear as dancers, as athletes, is that feeling of isolation that if you do something different from the rest of them, you know, but people followed you. But you were one of the trailblazers.
I don't know. Thank you for saying that.
It's a very brave thing to do.
Words and attaching them to me.
It's a very brave thing
But
to do.
that is the exact opposite of anything I felt, or the exact opposite of any reason I decided to make the phone call.
Yeah.
The initial phone call that I was the third girl that made the phone call. I wanted to stay anonymous at the beginning, but I was told effusively, and I was very frustrated and angry because I had told them the story. I didn't even realize until just before, you know, because it's again you don't know, and then
Yes.
it clicks and you put pieces together and you're just ripped open, and it comes back to you like it happened yesterday, and then you think of all the emotional abuse and all the physical abuse,
Yes.
and then it starts creeping in like how it's not just them, it's
The whole system.
this culture and the institution. And I wasn't able at that point to see everything, and now you know it's different. It's been a lot of time, and it seems inevitable what happened, but we do know that the abuser, the perpetrator of these crimes, it was not even close to a given that he would be arrested for what he did, because of the way he explained things and
The manipulation.
and because of the way the institutions covered for him
Yes.
and made up stories about why he wasn't at USA Gymnastics, and all the people that came to his defense, and then all the people that absolutely trashed online and via phone calls. They had private investigators go after the first girl that they figured out came forward, and I had spent so much of my life in rhythmic. They don't respect rhythmic gymnasts. And I had been on the board of USA Gymnastics, and that was made quite clear by the president of USA Gymnastics. So for those people to accept me and respect me was, an accomplishment that I was important. So when I came forward, I was absolutely terrified, and I wasn't brave. I didn't say, "Oh, I'm going to do the right thing here because this is right." But one of the big things that made me come forward and make that phone call, because I didn't have lawyers, I didn't have
It's just you.
anybody, and I guess I told my parents, but even they were not processing. Like
Yeah. I can
They
imagine
didn't-
it's a hard thing to.
process, and they didn't.
It's like a picture that's been there, and then you flip it, and the whole
And
thing looks a
they-
different way.
They absolutely did not tell me what I should do, and I didn't need them to. I didn't want this to be something that anybody else made a decision about.
Yeah.
But I did. I called before Nasser's name had been mentioned in the press.
Yeah.
There had been a story about USA Gymnastics hiding sexual abuse files just in a file cabinet.
See, on like a separate but related topic, there are some big ballet directors in the city that I know are doing things to students, and when I look up the reviews are 5 stars, all
That's
great stuff. And there's nothing, we're buried way below. And I think, wow, you know.
I personally, what I would hope is that by speaking with you and working with these students, that dancers across this city can, because it's a small community, it really
Yes,
is.
when you get to a
when
certain
you get-
level, yes.
It can be a very small community. Will start to take agency for themselves and could be connected with their person, their people that are supporting them, and see the signs,
Yeah.
make decisions, go in together and say, but not in a crazy parent way where
Right.
my kid didn't get a role that I believe they should have gotten. Or my kid's been doing this, and this, why didn't they get pushed up a level? It has to be separate from that.
Yeah.
This is about the culture and the future of these kids' lives. Like, something could happen to them over these years that will absolutely affect the trajectory of their entire lives.